Part 5 of Aftercare instructions. Going to go through piercings. What's normal, what's not, and what to do about it. Coming up next in Body Piercing Basics, episode number 53. So stick around. Those that are new to the channel, my name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I own and operate the Axiom Body Piercing Studio located here in Des Moines, inside the lovely Skin Kitchen. So when I talk to you about these things, I'm talking to you at a level of expertise as someone who has done piercings professionally for a long period of time and helped people through the healing process and when problems arise. So this is the fifth part of a five-part version of my Aftercare instructions. It's more kind of an unabridged version because usually I'm not going to sit down and talk to you that long if you came in and got a piercing. You can find the other videos linked in the description. Also, you can download a PDF of our actual Aftercare instructions for your own personal use and edification. First thing I'm going to tell you right off the bat is nothing replaces actually seeing a professional and having them take a look at the problem that has arisen with your piercing. If you are having issues, you should not be watching this. You should be going and seeing your piercer or a doctor and having them take a look at it and make an educated, knowledgeable decision on what's going on and take steps to solving the problem. This is in no way, shape, or form a substitution for that. This is more about educating you what is normal, what is not normal, and what you should do about it. So, what's normal? Right after a piercing is done, your body kind of goes into this stage of not only trying to seal off the wound and fight off the possibility of invaders, aka pathogens like fungi, microscopic organisms, bacteria, etc., viruses that may get into the piercing wound and cause an infection. It does this by swelling, bleeding, and generally looking grouchy and uncomfortable. Normal signs and reactions, and part of this is to the trauma of the piercing itself. Usually the more trauma, the more reactions you're going to see and the longer they're going to last. Some piercings, you're going to see more trauma than other piercings. Underskilled piercers or piercings done improperly are going to see more trauma also. So, what you normally will see is redness, discolorization, heat, or feels very inflamed or feverish, basically tenderness of the touch, and inflammation. Those are all normal. Most people, it lasts usually a couple days, some people a little bit longer, depending on the piercing and the location, jewelry, etc. It's also not uncommon to see a slight bit of bleeding lasting anywhere from a day to a couple days, usually just collects around the piercing holes. It's completely normal. Most people don't even notice it. You need to let it do what it needs to do. It'll stop doing that when it doesn't need to do that anymore. If you're seeing a lot of bleeding, you probably should seek some type of professional advice. In some cases with areas of the body that are a lot more blood rich, it's completely normal for them to bleed for a long period of time. For example, genital piercings, sometimes tongue piercings. But if you're not seeing that bleeding slowing or it seems like it's increasing, and especially if you can read your pulse with the way it is pumping out of your body, seek medical attention as soon as possible. One thing you do, especially with oral piercings, is packing your mouth with ice chips. That'll kind of slow down the bleeding and stop it in most cases. Tongue piercing sometimes will bleed a little bit, and that's one of the things that you can do. Now let's talk about allergic reactions. Everybody always seems to think that redness and discoloration, etc., is a sign that they're having an allergic reaction. Allergic reactions are kind of all of those symptoms, but on 11. They tend to be a lot more intense. Usually you're going to have shooting and traveling pain instead of just you bump it, you know it. There is also sometimes going to be kind of a clear discharge that your body produces, which is basically plasma. And it's not going to be uncommon to see kind of a rashy area around the piercing area as part of the reaction, or the swelling will begin to spread to other parts of your body. Reactions to metals or aftercare products usually will take place within the first 24 to 28 hours. In some cases, immediately, you will know that you're having an allergic reaction. If it is 2 or 3 weeks into the healing process and suddenly you see these problems, it's probably not an allergic reaction. It may be an infection or something else, and you still do need to go see somebody about it. But it's probably not the jewelry itself. It's probably something else. Or it could be that you've switched aftercare products and now you're having a reaction to that aftercare product. With an allergic reactions, you need to seek somebody to change the jewelry as soon as possible or remove it. Usually, if you remove the jewelry completely, the allergic reaction will start to subside almost immediately. If you change the jewelry, it may take a little bit longer due to the fact that changing the jewelry is going to cause some trauma to a degree, and that may prolong that swelling a little bit longer. But you should start to see results within a couple hours of it starting to subside and settle down. Infections are extremely rare, and the reason why is usually infections are a sign of repetitively doing the wrong thing. Most cases, we're human. You're going to contaminate the area, you're going to contaminate the piercing. However, your immune system is usually strong enough that it's going to fight off any invaders at that point. However, if it's a continual thing that you do over and over and over and over again, chances are you're going to be more prone to getting an infection. I covered cross-contamination prevention, and that's what we're concerned about more than anything else. Of course, being healthy, having a good immune system, exercising, not smoking, drinking, taking illegal substances, all of those things will depreciate your immune system. Usually when I see infections, it's kind of it's usually about 3 different scenarios. The first one being is that the person has a health issue they were unaware of or unsure of or what have you, like an immune deficiency disorder, diabetes, or for one reason or another, due to illness, their immune system has been depreciated. The other kind are people that take care of the piercing for a couple of weeks and they decide that it's healed because it doesn't hurt anymore, and then proceed to do everything like they would normally in life and not take any precautions at all. Third kind are people that accidentally, the wound becomes infected. And it's usually a situation where either a partner handles the area or has oral contact with it, or they get pushed into a lake or something like that, where beyond their control, something bad happened. If you think you've contaminated the area, I do suggest cleaning the area with an antimicrobial or germicidal soap. You can get away with using an antibacterial soap or even just a regular hand soap. Basically, clean off the area under running water, suds up that, of course, wash your hands first, kids. Suds up that soap, apply it to the general area of the piercing, let it stay in contact for about 30 seconds, and then rinse under running water. It should kill off most of the microorganisms in the area, all those contaminants and all your good microorganisms, and give the good microorganisms that live on the surface of your skin and are part of your immune system a chance to repopulate the area and fight off the invaders. If you do have an infection, usually what you're going to see is multiple signs, including redness, discolorization, heat or feels very inflamed or feverish, discharge that comes out in a pus form, usually very milky in substance and often in a color that does not look natural. Swelling, of course, and throbbing, aching, or shooting pain. If you start to show anywhere from 2 to 3 of those signs, you need to seek medical attention as soon as possible. The thing with infections, if you do think you have one, the 2 worst things you can do is put off getting taken care of because it's only going to get worse. possibly turn systematic and spread, and be much more difficult to correct the longer you put off getting taken care of. The other thing is removal of the jewelry. A lot of people have this misconception that removal of the jewelry will just make the infection and everything else go away. The problem with that thinking is how your body heals infections and what happens when you take the jewelry out. Your body heals infections by pushing that infected tissue and fluids out of the body while replacing it with healthy tissue below. When you remove the jewelry, which is the only thing keeping those two holes open, the holes will still shut, trapping that infected tissue and fluids inside your body, triggering one of two events. Worst case scenario, it turns into an inward traveling infection, begins to actually spread into other tissue, if left untreated, can possibly turn septic or cause permanent tissue loss. More commonly, your body will isolate the infection by developing a cyst or an abscess, and then slowly, very painfully attempt to push it to the surface. In both cases, you're definitely going to need medical attention, and it's probably going to involve having it lanced and drained. If you leave the jewelry in, it allows a way for your body to expel the infection and also usually makes it a little bit more treatable. Now, with lancing and draining, never, ever, ever, ever let a piercer or untrained non-medical professional lance anything on your body. There is always a possibility that by lancing that, you are going to spread the infection or introduce it into your bloodstream or reintroduce it back in the piercing and start the whole process over again. You should see a doctor or a PA or someone, or go to urgent care and let them do it. Lastly, bumps. Bumps can be a lot of different things. They can be scarring. They can be an abscess or a cyst from an old infection. They can be what we like to call boils or pimples, or they can be something completely different. Without seeing the piercing firsthand and figuring out exactly what it is, and then starting to step back and figure out what the cause of it is, it will continue to grow and it will continue to come back no matter how much you put stuff on it and how much you pop it and etc. In fact, it can often exacerbate the situation, make it worse, and make the bump larger. I know it's easy to say everything's keloids. Keloids are a completely different thing. They are scar tissue. They are permanent. If it is a keloid, you already know that you are prone to keloiding because I'm sure at some point in your life you've gotten a cut and ended up with a bubble-like scar. That is keloiding. It's permanent. The only way to get rid of it is to have it surgically removed. When you have a bump on a piercing, it not necessarily is a keloid. It can be a lot of different things. So if you think you have a bump or you have a bump, the first thing to do, see your piercer, have them take a look at it, try to figure out what it is, then try to eliminate the cause of that. Common causes with bumps are abuse, things like sleeping on it, having wet hair in contact with it, bumping it constantly playing with it. Those things will cause scarring, almost like a callus. Other causes are jewelry that's improperly sized. It's either too small or too big. The amount of movement is causing the same issue. The other thing is improper aftercare instructions. You're using products that are way too harsh for that particular piercing to heal correctly. The last one being is that the piercing was done incorrectly in the first place. In those cases, pretty much removing the jewelry and crossing your fingers the bumps are going to go away is the only way to get rid of them. Now, the final one would be an abscess or a cyst, which sounds scary, but what it generally means is that you did have a minor infection. Your body did what it was supposed to do, which is seal up that infected tissue and fluids, and it's pushed it to the surface. And the easiest way to do that is right along the side of the piercing. Those, in generally, will either pop on their own or need to be lanced and drained by a medical professional. So that's all I have to say on the subject today, and that ends my 5-part on aftercare instructions in general, the unabridged version. Did I say abridged earlier? Because I meant unabridged version. Anyway, if you have any questions, you feel like I didn't cover something, or you have something to add, please leave a comment. I do read them and answer them on a regular basis. If you're a fashionable person who likes to look fashionable and hip, check out our merch store. We have numerous t-shirts with numerous t-shirt designs that will not only show your love and support for the channel, but also your love of body art, piercing and tattooing. Till next time, here's hoping all your piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I hope to see you for your body piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Stay warm. Storm coming. Be safe. Because we like keeping you around.